Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. And I appreciate you guys being here today. Today I'm gonna get right to it because what I have to say is extremely important for a lot of people. And I searched high and low when it was me and I was having this issue. I searched high and low through YouTube, articles, Google, Bing. I looked on every website I possibly could. I read every article I possibly could, trying to get some kind of assistance, some kind of help, and I have found none. I had to do this on my own. I had to reach deep within my heart and my brain, pray to my God, and try to figure out what I was going to do to fix this issue. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about those overpayment balances that you guys have received on your either P.U.A. or unemployment. Now, reason that this is a big issue is because, of course, when you have any pending issues on your unemployment or your P.U.A., it stops your payments. That's first of all. Second of all, they can eventually start to garnish your wages when you do start back working, or they can take your tax refund, which is tax refund season. And so these are issues that need to be fixed before it gets to the point of no return, because a lot of this is just simply the department didn't have enough staff, or they didn't have enough I don't want to call them dumb, but their staff didn't know. They were ill prepared for the pandemic. They were not prepared. They did not have the staffing. They did not have the funding in order to process all these applications that were coming in for unemployment at the time after they shut us down. And because of that, there was a lot of department errors, but there was a lot of fraud as well. And, whenever people are doing things that they don't have no business, it's not those people who suffer because they don't care. It's the people who were legitimate workers, who legitimately worked all of their life, paid their taxes in their state, and were forced to shut down. And we're parents and teachers at the same time, and we got a lot of stuff going on, and it's us who ends up suffering in the end, because in order for them to sweep out all the bad apples, we get grouped up with them and then get sorted out at their will, which is not fair to us. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my personal journey and how I fixed it, because at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you how I got it fixed. It's fixed. So don't be discouraged. I got mine fixed. I'm going to tell you how I did it. But let me take you down the timeline. I wrote down the dates, and I'm going to tell you specifically, we're going to get personal right now about what happened to me. So I am an independent contractor. I have been an independent contractor for probably the last 10 years. I can't remember the last time I actually clocked in physically for someone else and worked for another person. So of course that qualified me for the P.U.A. I also have a video on my channel where I was telling you guys how to fill out the P.U.A. and encouraging you guys to go out there and get some help. And it was okay to not be ashamed that you need help. They've shut your job down, they've closed your business, and you need assistance right now. So, I encourage this. So when this happened to me, I was so offended because I felt like I've dragged other people into this shit with me. And that's not fair, excuse my French. To all these hardworking people who are in the same boat as I am. So, long story short, I filed for the pandemic unemployment insurance. I filed for that on May 14th of 2020. I had been out of work since March, in the beginning of March. I stopped working probably like March 10th. The pandemic hit and our governor shut everything down. Now, I live in the state of Ohio. We got shut down. Everything was closed. I mean, everything was closed, and we were all forced to be in our homes. I'm sure it was the same for you in whatever state that you live in. They took our income away. They shut down our businesses. They closed our doors, and they told us to stay in the house. So for 2 months, we sat there twiddling our thumbs, trying to figure out what we were going to do about food, about bills, about anything. And then this program was released. And we were told that we qualified for it. People who typically didn't qualify for regular unemployment were able to get this program, P.U.A. It was for independent contractors, gig workers, people who freelance, people who just do odd jobs here and there. They get paid in cash. Uber, Lyft drivers. If you sell things on Amazon, eBay. If you were a hairdresser, if you were a dancer, if you were a model, if you were a babysitter, if you were a person who didn't typically apply for unemployment and be approved for it, you could apply for this program. First, you had to get denied by regular unemployment, and then they opened up this portion of the program for you. Now, I didn't do any of that. When I applied for this program, I applied in May 14th. I received my first payment for P.U.A. on May 20th. Okay? It took them all of a week in order to process everything. During my application process, it was fairly simple. I just gave them a little bit of my information, put it in, and I was approved for the program. Now, when I initially applied for the program, I did not submit any proof of income because it said it was waiving it. It said it wasn't required. However, I did read in the fine print that if you submit proof of income, it may increase your benefit amount because of how much money you made. Now, 2019 was a little rougher of a year for me on the fiscal side, just because I was pouring so much money into my business at the time. I wasn't seeing a return yet. So I spent way more money on my business than I actually made in the business. And that's what my 2019 tax form reflects. So it didn't really increase my benefits any when I submitted it, but I did submit it anyway. And that will come into play shortly as we go through the story. So, long story short, I was back paid on 5/20 all the way back to 3/21, which is the first pay week. Our payday in Ohio is Tuesdays. So the very next bill cycle that went around, they paid me unemployment and they back paid me all the way to March when it was May. So I got that lump sum of money, and at that time we had fell into that extra added incentive boost. So the extra $600 came into play as well. So once that ran out in July, that portion was over. Now here's where my first issue popped up on my P.U.A. So in August 7th, I wrote down the date. On August 7th, I opened my portal and I went to certify for that week of still being unemployed, because a lot of us were still unemployed, even though they started to open things up back slowly. As an independent contractor, with everything that was going on with Corona, some of our jobs just did not allow us to take clients. I'm a hairdresser, and so a lot of my clients were just afraid to be serviced because of the disorder. Not only that, they were afraid to maybe come somewhere and track it back to their children who are now homeschooling because the schools are closed and everything is remote now. So they first took our jobs, then gave us the minimum amount of money that they possibly could give us, of our own money, by the way, because let me be clear. Every time you pay your taxes as an independent contractor, you pay to work every year. When we go file taxes, we have to pay taxes to work for ourselves. So that money that you paid them to work in your state, to be an independent contractor and make money for yourself, they start giving it back to you in the smallest portion that they possibly could, while telling you to be a parent and a teacher and get a new job or start a new career, because the career, that field that you were in, is not applicable for what's going on in society right now. That kind of thing. So being in a confined space as a Uber or Lyft driver or anything like that wasn't safe. It wasn't safe. We didn't know what was going on with coronavirus. We didn't know how it was spreading. It was so many different rumors. It was trial and error, and the government was at each other's throats so bad about politics in the upcoming election, they forgot about the people in the meantime. So we went through a lapse where we didn't have any extra money. So in my state, the smallest amount that they allow you is $189. So that's what everyone was getting if you were smart enough to get the taxes took out of your unemployment, because it is taxable income. And you're going to have to pay that at the beginning of the year, which I opted for the 10%. You were getting $177. So 177 a week is what they expected you to be able to take care of you and your family off of once the boost ran out and all of that. So on 8/7/20, I opened up my portal and I went to certify for that week of unemployment. And there was a pending fraud issue and a pending identity issue in my claim. So I had to then resubmit every document that I sent in to prove that I was who I said I was. Social security number, birth certificate, front and back of state IDs, I think some kind of form of credit. I had to submit proof of income, bank statements, tax returns. All of these were the required documents in order for them to fix my fraud claim. They did not fix my fraud claim until 9/22. So I was without benefits from 8/7 all the way to 9/22, because anytime you have a pending issue, no matter what the issue is, on your account, they freeze your account and they do not pay you. But after you appeal it, because you have to go through the appeals process for that, and during the appeals process, the portal opens up for you to resubmit all of this documentation that they're asking you for. I did that, and I sat and waited because I thought that it was going to process on its own, and it didn't. It did not process on its own. After I submitted the documents, I had to continuously call the P.U.A hotline over and over again. I cannot tell you guys how many times I called these people and sat on the phone for 2-3 hours at a time waiting just for someone to answer to tell me there's nothing that they could do. I have to wait for the process to process. And finally, maybe 9/11, actually I remember 9/11, I got a young gentleman on the phone by the name of Mike. I explained to Mike what was going on with my claim. I explained to him that I submitted all of these documents and everything should be sitting in there for them to review, and I need some help. And Mike went above and beyond to help me. He escalated my situation to the higher ups, and then the very next week, I seen the pending issues fall off of my account. And I was then back paid from 8/7 all the way to 9/22, and I received my payment that Tuesday. Not even a month later, you guys. I swear to God. Not even a month later, I opened my portal and there was a correspondence in there. And I could not download it because I don't know if they were having so many technical and system issues that when you would click on the hyperlinks, they wouldn't open. And I had to actually try on different devices in order to finally get this correspondence open. And I'm glad I did, because I seen the overpayment balance there, but I didn't really know what that was. But I had seen expose on the news saying that over 180,000 people received overpayment balance notices from ODJFS, which is our Department of Family and Children Services in Ohio, saying that they had been overpaid benefits and they needed to pay them back. The audacity of our government. You shut our doors, took away our sources of income, forced us to be parents and teachers to the point where we cannot work, cannot even look for employment because we have to be at home with children and family members and elderly people who are sick that can't go to these facilities and go get the care that they need. To give us the smallest amount of money you possibly could give us, and then have the audacity to ask for it back. It was so crazy and nerve-wracking. I have cried so many tears, and I have had so many headaches and stressed so much about this, like family life falling apart, because you just don't know what to do. You don't know what to do because they keep screaming fraud, 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 all of these things with fraud. But there's real hardworking people out here in this world that did nothing to deserve these messages and these. You just didn't want to do your job. So, of course, once I see the overpayment balance, now, mind you, in the fine print of the overpayment balance, it tells you that if you do not start to repay this money back immediately, they will garnish your wages. So if you do happen to come up on a new job, they're going to start garnishing your wages. The tax refund year is coming up, so when you go to file your taxes, they're gonna take your tax check. Yes, they are. All of these things. If you cannot fix this overpayment balance, so the first step was to call and get some information to see where this came from and what was the problem. So I'm going to tell you exactly what the agent told me that I spoke to on the phone. When I finally did get somebody from the P.U.A line on the phone, they told me they could see in their system how this error occurred on my account. They said the adjudicator went in for the annual review of everyone's account, and I was listed as a hairstylist on all the when I was going through the fraud issue. I had to submit my tax returns not only from 2019 but all the way back to 2016 to prove that I worked in this state. I have been a hairdresser for over 10 years, but last year I worked on solely my in-home healthcare business. So that is what was reflected on my 2019 tax return. Not me being a hairdresser. I didn't even renew my license last year. I didn't have time to do both. So the adjudicator never looked at the documents that I submitted as my proof of income. She just went in and seen that I was listed as a hairdresser. She searched for me on the Ohio State Board database. She did not see my name there, and she deemed me ineligible for the program. That was it. She looked on there. She didn't see my name. She deemed me ineligible and then put an overpayment balance of $18,615. $18,615. That's what my overpayment balance said in my account. That's what they said that I owed them. That's what they said they overpaid me. $18,615. So you can imagine my shock and appalledness at this situation. And so, the guy on the phone, he's like, I can see where she messed up at, but I can't fix it. He said the next process to you being able to fix this is you're going to have to appeal it. And he's like, appeal it immediately because they take forever. They're already behind. And he's like, this is going to take longer than it's supposed to. He said, the appeals process is supposed to be 21 days. They have 21 days to clear you of whatever this issue is when you submit an appeal. So I submitted the appeal that day, which was 11/20. So, I submitted my appeal and I was just kind of sitting and waiting. Maybe like 2 weeks went by and I got nervous. I could access my portal, but I couldn't do anything in there. I still continued to certify for each week that I was unemployed. He told me to do that during the appeals process, so I did do that. Nothing changed. Nothing changed. So I just kept calling. I kept calling. I kept trying to speak to someone who was going to give me more information than what I had. The next person that I talked to said the same thing. I can see where the error occurred on your account from our end. But at this point, now that you submitted an appeal, it is beyond our help. P.U.A can no longer help you. You have to speak to somebody in the appeals department. They gave me a number for the appeals department, which ended up just being the number for regular unemployment. I would call the number. Regular unemployment would tell me that's a P.U.A issue. We don't handle P.U.A issues. It's a totally different department. There's nothing we can do to help you. And I got bounced back and forth. I cannot even tell you how many times I had to call these people. I got bounced back and forth between P.U.A and regular unemployment. P.U.A, regular unemployment. P.U.A, regular unemployment. A million times before I finally got a nice, intelligent, sophisticated young lady on the phone that knew what she was talking about. And this is what she told me. This is where the video gets good. This is where you find out how you can fix your pending issue of overpayment balance. If you are a legitimate worker who worked in your state, earned your money, you have some proof of income, and you're not going to let these people get over on you. This young lady, I was on the P.U.A hotline. She said, ma'am, I can absolutely see everything that you've submitted. You are a legitimate worker. You are eligible for the program. She could even see when I received a non monetary determination letter. I received two of them. Both of them said I was eligible for the program. Even the redetermination. I got a redetermination letter 11/21, which was the day after the overpayment balance appeal. And at the beginning part of the letter, it said you are qualified for P.U.A. And then in the subtext, it said you have not submitted proof of income prior to the required date of this application, and your application has been denied. Two separate statements, one saying I'm approved, one saying I'm denied. And then it says you have an overpayment balance of 18,615. And it gave you a website to start paying it back on. After that, in on 12/14, I received another non-monetary determination saying that I had submitted all required documents and my application is approved. But at the bottom of it, it said you have an overpayment balance of $18,615 still. So when I'm talking to this young lady, she tells me, like, okay, now that your process is in appeals, what you have to do is you have to speak to an adjudicator. You have to get in touch with someone in the appeals department, because at the P.U.A. department, everything is out of our hands. Each sub of P.U.A. is a separate department. They don't even touch each other. They don't communicate. They don't share information. When I had, because I'm saying I had a fraud issue a month before this where I submitted all these same documents to verify and certify who I was, how much money I made, and where I work at. I have proof of all of these things. That is how I was back paid for the fraud issue that was on my account in the first place. So how could you turn around a month later and ask me for the same exact documents to verify and certify this same income and this same issue? And she said, because the departments don't touch. When you have a fraud issue, it goes into the fraud department. When you have an identity issue, it goes into the identity department. Once you submit those documents, they erase them. They delete them. They're no longer on your file because they're sensitive information. And then when people information getting leaked, so as soon as you send anything that got your social security number on it, tax information, anything like that, it's destroyed after it's used for whatever it's used for. So she's like, even though you just submitted all these documents for the fraud issue and it got the fraud issue fixed, now that you have this overpayment balance, you will have to submit all the things again. And I told her I did submit all of those via email. There's an email that they give you that you have to submit the documents to. And there's an upload portal on the actual correspondence where you submit your documents when you're doing your appeal. I did it in both. So my documents just floating around everywhere. And I'm just like, how many times do you need these in order for it to get fixed? So she tells me, call the unemployment hotline, regular unemployment. Now, here's your fix right now. You do not call P.U.A. You call the regular unemployment line. You use option 3 to when it says, do you want to speak to a representative about your unemployment claim? When they answer the phone, you don't say anything about it being a P.U.A. related claim. You say nothing to them about it, because the minute that you say something about it being P.U.A., they're going to try to transfer you, or they're going to tell you that there's nothing that they can do because that's not the department that they handle. That's not what you need to say. When you call these people and you get them on the phone, you tell them, I want to talk to the redetermination department. This is after you already filed your appeal. Wait a couple weeks, then call. You have to call them right when they open. Otherwise, you're going to get a message that says, due to hard call volume, please call back at a different time. And you're not going to get through. I called at 7 o'clock in the morning. I got through to the line. I pressed option 3. I had to wait an hour and a half. So 8:30, the person at regular unemployment answered the phone. And when they answered the phone, I said, I need to speak to somebody in the redetermination department. They will transfer you to the redetermination department. When you get that person on the phone, that is the person, that is your safe haven. That is the person who is going to be able to fix your problem. You talk to them. You explain to them your situation. I don't know what your personal situation was. You let them know you've submitted all your documents. You submitted all your proof. You do not understand how this error occurred. And they will work on it with you over the phone until it is fixed. Once it is fixed, depending on what day you call, it takes another business day in order for you to see the issue fall off of your account, and then they will go back and back pay you. Today is Monday, the 11th. I called on Friday to the redetermination department. I spoke to a young lady in the redetermination department on Friday. She fixed my issue. I did not see the issue fixed on the P.U.A website until early this morning. At about 4 a.m., the system updated. My overpayment balance is zero now. All the weeks that I've certified for, in the meantime, I was waiting for the appeal to go through, have been listed as paid. And tomorrow is Tuesday. And on Tuesday, I will receive all the back payment for all the weeks that I've certified for while I was in the appeals process. And then next week, on the 18th, which is next Monday, we will be paid again for the new bill that just passed. The extra $300 boost will come into play. You'll be able to backdate on that Sunday and certify for those weeks, which is, it's been 3 weeks since the bill got signed. So you'll get that back pay as well, just as an update for that. I really hope that this video has blessed someone. I really hope that you guys can find a way to fix these issues before tax time rolls around. I do not want them to garnish your wages. I don't want them to take your tax refund. It's not fair to you. We have been through enough. 2020 was a horrible, horrible, terrible ass year, and I'm glad it's over. We're going into our new year, right? I really, really hope that I have helped someone in some way. So, you guys, please like and share this video for anyone who you think it has affected and it will help. I don't care about the likes and the views or any of that. I just care about helping somebody. So, I hope this blessed someone's life. Leave comments down below. I will reply to any comments that you guys make. Make sure you ask any questions. If you have any questions, you can leave me a comment down below. My Instagram is Starla, STARLA _DA _queen. If you guys want to DM me on there, you can DM me. That information will be in the description box. Also, I'm going to leave a link to the P.U.A appeals application. I'm going to leave you the number for the P.U.A hotline. And I'm also going to leave you the unemployment line number. So I hope this blessed somebody's family today. I hope you guys get out of this and make it out. I pray that our government cleans up their act and they start caring more about their people, because right now where we stand, I mean, we're in turmoil, guys. A lot of prayers need to be sent out to the Most High to come down here and help us, because if we have to depend on the government, we're going to be lost. So I pray that everyone finds gainful employment and you guys get back on track and file for those PPP loans and file for those SBA grants and all of that stuff to get your business back where it needs to be at. Don't be afraid to take these people money, because they didn't have no problem shutting our shit down. So, you guys have a blessed day, and I'm out. I'll see you later.